And I feel it's going to be a catch-up meeting. I call your attention to the minutes from March 25th, 2025. Are there any corrections or additions? I see where I was again nominated for position of chair.
Good boy.
Judy Turner, position of vice chairman, and Max Plantke, position of secretary. So, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from the March 25th, 2025 meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move that they be approved as submitted.
Second that.
It's been properly moved and second that the minutes be approved as submitted. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor will you show the right hand of approval? The motion is carried unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I have something I want to bring up before the board, and I don't know if now is the time to do it or after.
Why don't you let me give the opening statements and
Okay,
afterwards. I'll call on you, John.
All right.
Notice to the public the time, the date, the place, and the agenda for this meeting was published as a legal notice on May 2nd, 2025 in the Aiken Standard. Notice to contiguous property owners were mailed and signs were posted on the properties where actions by this board will be taken. They were posted on or before May 2nd, 2025. Notices of this meeting were sent on or by May 23rd, 2025 for posting on the city webpage and to the city clerk for posting on the municipal building notice board at least 24 hours before the meeting. Agenda sheets were mailed or emailed to interested parties. It is unlawful for any person giving testimony to this board knowingly providing false information. Now that's according to section 22-9 of the Aiken Municipal Code. Each infraction is a separate offense, and there's a penalty. The penalty is up to 30 days in jail and or a fine of $1,092.50. With that, John, you had a statement that you wanted to make.
Yes, this is not a big deal, but it kind of is, and I just want to try to get an answer from Max. But I would like it entered into the minutes. We haven't had our training in this year, and normally we have our training that puts us in compliance with the state and the city, and we haven't had that mandatory training yet. Normally it happens in January, February, we're now into May, and I haven't been notified about any training opportunities. And I would just like to know why. I think it is compromising this committee not having the mandatory meeting.
Yeah, I'd have to double check on that for you. I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you have any idea why? And has there been any discussion?
There has not,
It
no.
seems like it's undermining or weakening the BZA if we are to have mandatory meetings and we're not having, or mandatory training, 3 hours every year, and we're not having it, then
Right, yeah, I believe that's assessed on an annual basis, so at least as long as it's completed within that calendar year, I think it's fine, but I'll double check on that
okay,
for you.
thank you. That's all.
We'll get back with you, John.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move directly into old business. I call your attention to application 2593008. And that's a variance request from Palmetto State Signs for installation of a freestanding sign on property located at 481 Fabian Drive in that zone GB. To the city, has this been properly posted?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it has.
Were there any inquiries that you wish to share with the board?
Yeah, the planning department did receive 2 inquiries regarding the request. One written comment from a neighboring property owner or tenant down Silver Bluff, which has been distributed to the board at the beginning of this meeting there. Basically, email thread. He was clarifying the location and the dimensions of the sign. We did have one other individual contact the planning department via phone and they did express some concern with the proposed sign, but they did not submit any formal comment to the city.
Other questions to the city?
Mr. Chairman, shall I move into the presentation?
What do you ask? You ask something about the presentation.
Yes, presentation, please.
Yes, sir. 481 Fabian Drive is a newly addressed building under construction on a larger commercial lot known as Hitchcock Plaza that is 24.10 acres in area and located along Silver Bluff Road, south of East Pine Log Road. The property is zoned general business and developed as a commercial retail plaza with multiple businesses on the premises. The request is for a variance to City of Aiken zoning ordinance section 447B to permit a second freestanding sign on the property. Pursuant to section 447B of the city zoning ordinance, not more than 1 freestanding sign shall be permitted per lot except where the lot fronts 2 major arterials as determined by the planning director, in which case an additional freestanding sign may be permitted, no more than 1 such sign located along each arterial. Because of a pre-existing multi-tenant sign on the property and the lack of multiple arterial roadway frontages, compliance with the zoning ordinance would require no more than 1 freestanding sign on the property, thus requiring the variance. Information about the site plan and dimensions of the sign is contained in Exhibit B of your agenda packet. This was submitted by the applicant, but you can kind of see it go. It's going to be on the southwest corner of the property. This is the structure currently being built. It's getting close to completion, but the sign will be on this portion of the property on the southern side. This is a rendering of the dimensions there. As you can see, it's approximately 2.5 feet wide and 13.5 feet tall approximately. So fairly narrow, but also fairly tall there at 13 feet. As depicted on the property, zoning map attached in Exhibit C of your agenda packet. Adjacent properties within the same block are zoned general business or unincorporated and utilized primarily as commercial establishments. It's a little hard to see on this map here, but essentially this is all one parcel here. So the entirety of this commercial space is, per the zoning ordinance, only allowed one sign. But the neighboring properties here, again, primarily commercial. And then we have some unincorporated property across the roadway here. Some variation does exist regarding the commercial development in the immediate area, but most other parcels are significantly smaller than the subject property and are primarily limited to one business per parcel, thus allowing each individual business its own freestanding sign. No other property in the immediate area has as much roadway frontage that is unusable for signage as the subject property. So essentially, because these roadways are not considered arterial roadways, they're limited to the single sign on the property. Exhibit D contains photographs of the property depicting existing conditions, just our notice sign. You can see there's construction going on. This is the existing monument sign for the entirety of the plaza. As you can kind of see, it's basically there's tenants occupying each of the free spaces there. This again, just kind of give you an idea of where the sign will be, looking in southerly direction, approximately somewhere in here, off of the roadway. And as you can see, the building is currently under construction. And just existing conditions, under construction there. And again, this is looking northward towards the single sign on the property as you enter Fabian Drive here. Again, with the pre-existing tenants on the parcel. The planning staff's evaluation of the request, as well as the applicant's response to the required 6 variance criteria, can be found starting at page 2 of your agenda packet. This includes staff's presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any question, John?
Max, the First Community Bank sign, is that conforming or non-conforming? How tall is that? Do you know?
I'm not sure. That's actually, I believe, go back here.
That's the sign right next door to the north.
This one I'm not sure either. It's possible that it's non-conforming, you know, given the age of some of these developments and structures. But yeah, I mean, if it were to change, it would have to come into conformity.
Right. How about Marco's sign? What's the roughly the dimension on that?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that either. It could be conforming, it could not be. That one's probably a little tall, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe typically you're talking about the sign back here, I believe. And typically we would require a monument sign, you know, so that one is likely, you know, sort of grandfathered in. Yeah.
And is the proposed sign the proposed sign, or is it just an idea? Is it going to be that configuration and
That's my understanding.
dimensions?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Oops. Yeah, that would be their submitted, you know, as part of the sign permit application. But in order to do that, they would require the variance to have that on site in the first place. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Nancy?
Max, so that sign is just gonna be a tall, skinny sign with the letter CHASE and their symbol.
That appears to be the case, yes.
All right, is there any reason they couldn't put those letters on their building?
The city would permit a sign on the building itself. I don't know if they are planning on doing that. I suspect they probably will. But the ordinance really only restricts freestanding signs.
So there wouldn't be a problem with them putting the letter CHASE and that little emblem on the side of their buildings?
Yeah, they would be able to do that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The sign is a
Yeah.
lighted sign, right?
It does appear to be, yeah, illuminated. It says a double-face illuminated pylon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any requirements as to how bright it can be?
We don't, unless it's in a planned commercial district, there are no current standards for maximum like illumination.
That's where my accident was.
Okay.
I didn't make it to the meeting.
Any other questions from the board to the city? Thank you. Do we have others to speak to the variance request? Would you read yourself into the minutes, please? You state your name and your address.
Melinda Shepherd, 1562 Calamus Pond Road, Somerville 29486.
You may go.
I'm here in representation of Chase Bank. I submitted permits for this project. So from the very beginning, we had to request for a variance. So I'm here to hear the words from you guys to see if we can get approval for these signs. And Nancy, you spoke upon building signs, wall signs. We do have approved permitting for wall signs for the exterior portion.
And you're afraid people won't see it?
I think it's just promoting from the road and acknowledging that, you know, we're on a parcel that we're a leasee of, and it's a huge parcel. So we were just hoping that we could, distribute our business and have more of an insight there for passerbyers versus just the wall sign.
Now, your sign will be on your property facing in front of your building, right?
Yes, sir.
Good.
That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have others to speak to the variance request? Final call. Others to speak to the variance request? Seeing, hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion so we can enter a period of discussion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if you're looking for a
Go ahead.
motion, I'll make the motion. I move for approval of the variance to section 4.4.7 point B of the zoning ordinance to permit a second freestanding sign approximately 13.5 feet tall by 2.5 feet wide on property zoned general business. Generally located at 481 Fabian Drive, tax parcel number 106-16-02-033. The location and design of the second freestanding sign be consistent with the submitted site plan and rendering. The final order shall run with the owner. I assume that Chase Bank owns the property. Is that correct? That the run with the owner and the final order be recorded at the Aiken County ROD office.
I second.
Been properly moved and second that we approve the zoning request. Do we have any discussion?
I just want to say I think the sign is cool. It's narrow. The design is nice. And I'm all for that in that particular place. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion show by raise of the right hand.
Mr. Chairman, may I interject quickly?
Yeah, yeah.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, so I was just double checking the design standards there. For general business, the maximum height is actually 12 feet. So it would be a little bit taller than what would be permitted by right.
Right.
Just for clarification there.
Thank you for the correction. I need a recount on the vote. Those in favor, right hand.
Can we ask that they make it 12 feet? Because we're not
Yeah,
living in
yes,
this
you
section.
may. Yes, you may. Before we take another vote.
Would
Go
there be
ahead,
a problem
Nancy.
cutting it to what's you're allowed?
I don't think there would be a problem. It would be something we would have to discuss with our design group and make sure happen. I think if they're manufactured, obviously.
It's just a very busy intersection, very.
Yeah.
And I had an accident there, and I don't know. I'm just opposed to the sign altogether, but
You want to modify the motion to limit it to 12 feet?
yeah, I'd like to make a motion. We're already going outside the limits by giving them permission for a sign, but I think the sign should have to conform to the standards, which is 12 feet.
12 feet.
Make a motion of such.
So you're modifying, that's a modification to my
Yes.
motion?
Yes.
Okay.
To
and
limit the height of the sign to 12 feet.
if you're looking, if I have anything to say, yes, I approve of that modification.
You,
Amendment. I
you're
should
the
say to
second.
my-
Okay.
Okay.
The amended motion, show or raise of the right hand, those in favor. The motion is approved unanimously. Again, I'm going to refer to the city-owned application B.
Yes, so that was, this application was withdrawn this afternoon at the applicant's request.
Right, okay. Application B has been withdrawn at the request of the applicant. We now enter into new business. I call your attention to new business application 25-92001. It's a special exception request to permit a storage unit facility on property located at 1450 Richland Avenue East in that zone GB to the city. Has this been properly posted?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it has.
Were there any inquiries that you wish to share with the board?
The planning department did not receive any inquiries or comments regarding the request.
Do you have a presentation?
Yes, sir. The subject properties located at 1450 Richland Avenue East are approximately 5.91 acres when combined, are on the north side of Richland Avenue East, on the east side of the city, basically right at the edge of the city limits there. Two parcels are zoned general business. One is currently unincorporated at the corner here, and all are currently undeveloped. The request is for a special exception pursuant to section 3.1.6 of the city zoning ordinance to permit a self-storage facility on the properties. On lots zoned general business, self-storage facilities are permitted only by special exception. Information about the proposed conceptual site plan is contained in Exhibit B of your agenda packet. It's a little hard to see here just because of it was scanned in, but this is a sort of concept plan of the storage complex that was submitted by the applicant. I believe there's going to be an initial couple structures here with rear storage for RVs in the back, stormwater detention pond here, and access here with some future site development to occur at a later date. So The facility is described as an initial 2-story structures as well as RV storage area in the rear of the property, totaling approximately 54,570 square feet of self-storage space across the property. And once again, that concept plan depicts a vehicular entrance here along Richland Avenue East and stormwater management facility on the south end of the property down here. As depicted on the attached zoning map on Exhibit C, adjacent properties are either unincorporated or inside the city limits. Zone general business, so there's a gas station here, but it's primarily surrounded by industrial or light industrial use. Unincorporated properties to the northeast here. But the primary use in the immediate area is either commercial or institutional uses. The parcels are designated as commercial on the future land use map within the comprehensive plan. The size and shape of the property are suitable for a wide variety of commercial uses permitted under the GB district. Once again, the properties are approximately 5.91 acres in total area and have minimal relief in topography. The site is located along a prominent commercial section of Richland Avenue East, which is noted to carry approximately 9,800 average annual daily trips, according to SCDOT traffic counts from 2024. Exhibit E contains photographs of the property taken by staff depicting the existing conditions of the property. It's just our notice sign there. There's not much to the site. It's basically just, mowed grass. But just to give you an idea, it's, again, quite flat. And there's just really not much there. But to give you some context of the scope and the size of it there. This is a industrial zone district, but they're, it's commercial in use to the west there. That's a gas station to the east, zone general business, again, pretty heavy commercial use there. The planning staff's evaluation of the request, as well as the applicant's response to the required 11 special exception criteria, can be found starting at page 2 of your agenda packet. This concludes staff's presentation. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Max,
Yes.
would you point out the location of the retention pond again for me, please?
Yeah, sorry, it's a little hard to read just because it's a scanned copy, but it appears as though their initial design is going to have it on the frontage here
Okay,
of the roadway.
okay,
Now, keep in mind,
Okay.
they would still need to go through site and landscape plan
right.
approvals through us before. So this potentially may need to be reworked, but that's the initial idea.
Good, okay.
Does the board have other questions for the city?
Mr. Chairman,
Judy?
will the structures have, the individual structures, will they have any fencing around them, anything, or just the structure itself?
It's not clear, I don't think, from this site plan. The applicant would be able to put fencing on the property as part of, basically by right. It's really just kind of the use that's in question. But I think most storage places have some sort of fencing to sort of limit access. But again, that would be up to the applicant whether or not they wanted to do that or not. But they would be permitted by right to put fencing on the property.
Thank you.
Is it not required though, Max, that at least minimum fencing would be around the retention pond to keep it from being an attractive nuisance?
That would be the case, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for the city. What was the trigger that had it come to us versus an administrative approval, just on the, because it seems to hit a lot of the criteria, but what kind of pushed it?
Yeah, so for whatever reason, in the zoning ordinance, that section 3.1.6, the non-residential district use table, self-storage facilities are only permitted in general business by special exception. So it needs a special exception to be a permitted use in general business.
Do you think that that's something that might get addressed in the overhaul? That just seems like such a broad, I just sort of on record, just to say that maybe something that might be looked at when they redo the ordinance, because that seems to have a lot of swing depending on the area.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's not something that I'm aware that they're specifically addressing, but we can certainly make a note of that. You know, the ordinance will be rewritten just generally, so hopefully it'll sort of, you know, allow for a little bit more flexibility in situations like this.
Okay, thank you.
Good point, Karen, thank you. Good point.
One less thing for us to have to rule on.
Right, right. Especially if it's general business.
Yeah. I mean, I think the area lends itself to this, but I could just see with those donut holes that we have, sometimes it can be a little tricky.
Yeah.
Other questions from the board to the city? Thank you. Do we have others to speak to the application, the variance request?
Mr. Chairman, I do believe that the applicants are here if the board had any additional
Yes.
questions from them.
Do we have the applicants present? Do you want to address the board? Would you read yourself into the minutes, please, your name and your address?
My name's Megan Finley. Address is 339 Old Dibble Road.
You received a copy of the request from the city. Do you wish to embellish on that copy, or do you have some special information you want to present to the board?
I have nothing else to add unless y'all have some questions.
Does the board have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just had one sort of aesthetic question for the backside that sort of backs onto the horse park or the annex portion. Understandably, you're going to have security fencing.
Yes.
It's the nature, obviously, of the business. Are there any plans for sort of visual screens, just so that there's some delineation between, just more so out of curiosity and aesthetic, just to block view from
Right.
both, you know, people looking in and also just seeing the backs of, I'm assuming, possibly RVs, horse trailers?
Yeah, that backside, that will just be the RV horse trailer storage. We haven't really gone into the type of fence we'll put up yet, but we'll definitely consider that. I mean, I have horses myself. I understand, you know, not wanting to look out at necessarily a storage facility, but we'll definitely consider that for the back fence.
I was just curious about the neighbors thinking like,
Right.
we don't, but the horses don't care. They don't care what they're looking at, obviously, but I was
Sometimes
just
they do.
well, that's true. Yeah, I was just kind of curious about if there was going to be like a visual barrier for that other than like chain link and
Right.
barbed wire.
We'll definitely consider that.
Mr. Chairman,
But
just information only, Megan. Once, once you obtain all the approvals, assuming this board approves your special exception, how soon do you think you may begin construction? And I know you've got to get city approval and so forth, but any idea of when you might begin the project?
We're still working on the plans, like the actual plans for the structures. So it will be several months.
Okay.
We still have to finalize those and finalize how we're going to do a lot of it. So it'll be a bit.
So sometime in
Yes.
2025, in the
Sometime,
calendar
yes.
year 2025. Okay, thank you.
how many self-storage facilities are you planning?
Initially, it'll just be the 2 structures. And depending on how well those do, there's room to add more. And so it may just end up being the 2 structures, or, you know, if those fill up, if there's a need for more, then we'll add 1 or 2 more.
Thank you. Do we have other questions from the board to the applicant? If not, thank you. Do we have others to speak to the variance request? Final call, others to speak to the variance request? Seeing, hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion so we can enter a period of discussion.
Want to do it?
Sure. Sorry.
Karen,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the special exception application from Megan Neese Finley for approval of a self-storage facility at 1450 Richland Avenue East. We've taken into consideration each of the 11 criteria described and located in section 6.2.18 of the zoning ordinance. We find that the criteria have been satisfied and request that an approval is granted to construct a self-storage facility in accordance with the submitted concept plan at 1450 Richland Avenue East, identified by tax parcel number 121-11-03-006, 007, and 010. That the site and building plans shall comply with applicable sections of the zoning ordinance regarding the general business district, including design standards, landscape and buffers, and access management, that the final order shall run with the land, and that the final order shall be recorded at the Aiken County ROD office.
I second the motion.
it's been properly moved and second that we approve the variance request. Do we have any discussion? Seeing, hearing none, those in favor of the motion show by raising of the right hand. The motion is carried unanimously. With that, I call a close to the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals.